tap in. And is there any last words of any upcoming creative, or somebody's in a creative space and they want to make a pivot in a different, space within the creative ecosystem? What words of advice would you give them?
Yeah, I think I would. One, I would encourage people to keep going. I think it's very easy. We don't prioritize creativity enough, especially in kind of business spaces. I think even in academic spaces, the arts programs and budgets are always the first to be cut. And I think because of that, it's really easy to feel like there's not enough support. There are not enough people that care. And it's really easy to give up. But I think if you're interested in a kind of a creative pursuit and hoping to sustain yourself around it, one, be keyed in and tap into what that passion is, because the passion is really what's going to get you through those dark days and months where you're second guessing whether or not you should just go back to whatever you were doing before, or you should find a job to hold you over and all those things. And I think all of those things are realistic things that you should also be considering and be fair and truthful to yourself about. But the key, I think, for me is not to give up. I think the only reason I've been able to sustain myself now for several years around creative pursuits is because I didn't give up. That's really the only thing that separates me from anybody who hasn't been able to sustain that. I'm not any more talented, I kept going. And I sacrificed a lot of my 20s to do that, but now I'm in my early 30s and I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and I get to enjoy this for the rest of my life. And that's really exciting. Keep building and growing in that. So that's part of it. The other thing I would say is just be creative and be unique, like lean into that creativity in terms of how you pursue that field as well. I think we think very linearly at times and literally at times. And I think that's a lot because of how we're educated, which is a very left brain kind of linear way of thinking, as opposed to, thinking kind of constructively and creatively in broader terms. And what I mean by that is, like, I was an art history student and everybody joked all the time, oh, how are you going to use that? All you can do is be an art history professor. And I'm like, word, because I can look at any building and break down all of the influences from all over the world. Like, to me, this is a cultural snapshot of how the world works. How is that not valuable in any field I could possibly choose, right? How does that not make me distinct and unique in terms of how I process the world around me and the businesses around me and my approach to them? And I had my entrepreneurial skill set, so I was comfortable in any room. I wasn't intimidated by XYZ person. I didn't care what your resume was. Like, I know I have something to offer this space as well, right? Those things allowed me to kind of feel comfortable in the different rooms that I was entering, to pursue things in different ways, to think critically about how I can exist, So instead of, if you're loving music, maybe it's not just the music path. Maybe it's not just the path where it's you purely as an artist. You could also be a producer. You could also work, like, the music industry is infinite. The film industry is infinite. The artistic industry is infinite. I know friends who were artists who are now curators. I know friends who were artists in music who are now producers or studio managers or, help produce stuff for film and television, right? Like, there are different ways and different pathways that are different, unique intersections as people can find a home in that creative field. And so I think about your intersections, think about the things that make you unique. For me, it's my multiculturalism. It's the way that I view the world. It's my art history background mixed with, the things that I grew up with. And those things put me in a position where I was a great brain consultant, and I was a great, in a great position to help lead creative teams. Maybe others have different skill sets and different intersections that position them really well for things that they may never have considered before. So I think also just breaking out of the box and allowing other options to show themselves to you as well.
In the words of DJ Khaled, another one. One. It's been a pleasure, bro. Connecting
Likewise,
with you.
brother.
You're a wealth of knowledge. I feel in the future that we'll probably have to do a part 2, because it's just so much that I think you have to unpack. But where can people find Gumbo Media on the social platforms, and how can they tap in?
Yeah, well, first of all, I appreciate it. Absolutely, game for V2 whenever. But yeah, people can find Gumbo the easiest place is online. I mean, it's gumbomedia.com, at Gumbo Media on Instagram. Gumbo Fit is on our Gumbo Media website. That's also being flipped. So depending on when people see it, the website will be different soon as well.